I don't know why my broadcast keep cutting out. That's fucking weird, man. No, yo, they just cut me off, bro. Yo, today that was the third time since I've been in here. That was the third time I had to reset that shit. Yeah. Nope, wasn't you. I don't know what's going on today, bro. They're really trying to get me today. I swear. Yeah, like I was saying, I just find it really peculiar that a lot of people have already said this stuff. Like this guy, and once again, that's why that Terrence Howard interview is so interesting to me, is because I've already heard somebody say this. It's like, yeah, he's saying really cool stuff, and like, and the patents and all that was really interesting. Like he's really trying to build something with these ideas, and it's like, but I've already heard this from somebody. Oh, it was the magnet guy who was already saying all this shit. But once again, he's just some guy on YouTube, and Terrence Howard is like a well-known name, a household name, a famous celebrity. And so by him putting stuff out like this, it may be a little more dangerous, or people may be a little more concerned about his take on it, because it could actually motivate people to start doing their own research and changing up some experiments and things like that. But once again, this guy right here is on it, man. Talking about ether, metaphysics, 369, electricity. Yeah, and that was it, bro. I was in there for 20 minutes. That shit cut off. Then before that one, it was just a few minutes, and the shit cut off.
the spirit. Your desires, your fears, your angers, your intrepidations, your attachments,
Exactly.
all the desires.
Exactly.
You know what I'm referring to. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. The subjugation of Nirodha, perturbations of Vritti. Vritti just means disturbance or a cycle, like your frequency. The subjugation here of Chitta Vritti Nirodha, of the spirit. Chitta is nous, or spirit, or sanctum, or soul, take your pick, I don't really care. They're all in reference to the transcendent one, that which you inherently are, the transcendent self, of course. Chitta Vritti Nirodha, the subjugation of the disturbances or cycles or frequencies of the spirit, which are due to primordial agnosis. But agnosis, metaphysically, means illumination. If you can actually understand the difference between light and illumination, vidya and avidya, because vidya, of course, means illumination or light itself, it also, too, means transcendence, it also, too, means liberation. But everybody out there translates avidya and agnosis. It means ignorance. Yeah, kind of, sort of, it does, but not really. Nobody could ever grasp or wrap their brain around it if you understand it that way. Avidya and agnosis mean illumination. Anyway, off of that subject. This, of course, is embodiment, the false identity. Beliefs, of course, are spiritual vibration. I've talked about this. Everybody talks about the spark gap generator, the first person out there that told people, and I've actually consulted a few people, and I told them where to get a cheap spark gap generator. One is this famous lady out in Hollywood, the person I used to communicate with her. They had a bunch of bad things happened in this house. A few people met their demise there for whatever reason, and they would never go into that part of the house. But I mean, they have a huge, huge, huge estate. I've seen pictures of it. It's quite amazing. And they would never go there because it's so haunted. There is a way to get rid of it, and it's a spark gap generator. So what does a spark gap generator eliminate out? It doesn't eliminate them. It shoos them away, kind of like a bug zapper. It's a broad spectrum frequency disruptor. There are a lot of downsides to a spark gap generator. They generate ozone, which is bad for your lungs. They make loud snapping noises. They're really bothersome. They're self-destructive by their very nature, and if you touch one, they're actually dangerous. You need to learn about spark gap generator if you think about getting one. But these disembodied beings, countless, endless thousands of people, make note that these disembodied beings generate light, usually in the near infrared. So what are they generating light? Well, they're generating illumination. They themselves, by spiritual nature and definition, are light. What they're doing is they're generating illumination, the off-welling of a disturbance. Near infrared doesn't matter if it's visible light or invisible light. They're generating near infrared. Sometimes visible light. Sometimes it's visible. It's not always near infrared, but it usually is. That's why there's a huge upswing. Super, super cheap broad spectrum imaging and recording technology has opened up a world where human beings can only see about this much of the electromagnetic spectrum. Now with a super cheap Chinese-made technology, we can see about this much of the electromagnetic spectrum. Like, oh my God, these beings are everywhere out there. Look at that. The reason why they're generating that is because they're full of attachments. These are not people that you want to communicate with. There are a lot of dangers associated with that. Why are they generating light? Doesn't matter if it's infrared or visible light. Makes no difference. Well, they're generating that due to disturbances, attachments, fears, desires, things that they did, they wish they didn't do, things that they wish they did and didn't get a chance to do. The list is absolutely bottomless. That's the vibration or disturbance of spirit, the modulation thereof. It's the reason why every branch of monistic metaphysics, the really awesome, great stuff, Greek, Indian, and Egyptian, a few others, but not really, all say the same thing. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, Bhava Nirodha Nibbana. Basically, the shorthand version of that in simple English is cut off modulation of spirit. The secret of the universe from one end to the next, and Nikola Tesla's famous quote that nobody explains, is so broad-reaching I can make like a 6-part video. The universe, you need to think in terms of energy. This, of course, would be rest inertia, or pure potential, frequency and vibration. There is a distinction between vibration and frequency. Conventionally, no. The more superficially you look at something, like, well, these two are the same thing. Like, well, yeah, kind of, sort of. The deeper you look, there is a distinction. Vibration, of course, is subjective disturbance. Frequency, of course, is that ether perturbation resultant to the vibration. Yeah, vibration of what? You say vibration or frequency, not waves! These pseudo-intellectuals of academia love talking about waves. Waves of energy. Now hold on. Now let's backpedal a little bit here, Mr. Fuzzy-haired crackpot, which is what Tesla called Einstein. He called him fuzzy-haired. Let's backpedal a little bit here, fuzzy-haired crackpot. Waves don't exist. Waves are not things. Waves are what things do. This is a wave. Like, no, that's my hand moving. We can call what it's doing a wave, but that's my hand physically moving. I'm burning calories. I'm making my hand, modulate at a certain frequency or a non-set frequency. And these people have never defined energy. There's no such thing as waves, and they've never defined the term energy. They've also, too, never defined the term field. Someone will say, and they usually do in the comments, yeah, sure, modern academia has defined energy. It's the ability to do work. Well, that's descriptive, but it's not explicative. You're describing something that's accurate, but you're not explaining it. This is the problem with academia. They love talking about energy and waves and fields, and they never define these terms. Never. Now, my opinion that they didn't, they never have. Just go ask a PhD professor of theoretical physics, excuse me, sir, what's the definition of a field? They'll probably will say, well, a field is lines of force. Lines? Force? Force of what, by what, by what? These people are, once again, being descriptive rather than explicative. They can't explain anything. They think they're actually explaining something when they're not. What is the essence of what we're talking about? I have no idea. Oh, your PhD didn't give that to you, huh? No, it didn't. But, where's your PhD? Energy, frequency, and vibration. Principle, attribute, and disturbance or modulation. This, from one end of the universe to the next, defines basically, by the way, the mean frequency of geomagnetic precession is 42.5 megahertz, million cycles per second. That is the extrapolative of the rate of precession, and magnetism is this three-dimensional S-curve of the precession of that force vector. This gives us polarity. People think, well, polarity is two different things, like a North Pole and a South Pole. There's actually no North Pole and a South Pole and a magnet. Sure there is. Everybody knows that. It's like, no, there's not. What that is the negative pressure of counterspace. The negative pressure of counterspace is centrifugal divergence. And then we end up with spatiotemporal polarity. But time is only a measure, and space has no properties, but we're talking about energy, little frozen nuggets of energy, because all atoms, whether it be hydrogen, the uranium, it doesn't matter what it is, they all have a volume, and that volume is due to magnetism, and they all precess and pulse. I mean, every branch of science actually agrees with that. I'm on the same page as them on that. But you couldn't get a single one of them to tell you, what did Nikola Tesla mean? Smart guy, right? Gave us so many different inventions, endless inventions. What do you mean by the secret of the universe is frequency, energy, and vibration? Energy, frequency, and vibration. I don't know. That's a good answer, actually. When someone thinks they know the answers to everything, they never go looking for the answers to those things. This is really only scratching the surface, but what Nikola Tesla meant about the secret of the universe being energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, the frequency, of course, being this cyclic disturbance, and this is true of the logos, the Iristos Dias, DNA embodiment. It's actually been discovered that fear and anger and all these negative emotions have a set type of fingerprint of frequencies, and love and understanding and all the good stuff has a completely different fingerprint of frequencies. And this is transcendent past the psychophysical body, past consciousness, right straight to the soul itself. These disembodied beings, if they are unliberated by their own hands, which is self-proximity, of course, is a complete and total rest. Embodiment and suffering is modulation. It's like, why is there modulation at all? Well, fear, anger, hatred, attachments, wish you did this, wish you didn't do that, on and on and on. It's a long laundry list, but they all can be boiled down to spiritual modulation. Well, that spiritual modulation, when consciousness is cut off and there's a separation between the signal and the radio, analogously the soul, i.e. the signal, versus the body, and of course the broadcast is relative to consciousness. When that's cut off, there is still disturbance, because no radio can tune a signal that doesn't have a frequency, and that frequency, of course, is disturbance itself, definitionally. This is the reason why when people remove themselves from this world, they're not fixing anything. The modulation is still there. If you can smash this radio and burn it, the modulation of the signal, set frequency, amplitude modulation, frequency modulation makes no difference, is still present. Nothing has been solved. Every ancient culture said this too. Greek, Indian, Egyptian, the good ones anyway. The ones that actually knew what they were talking about. Which weren't that many, actually. Essentially Greek, Indian, and Egyptian. That's the answer. And that really is the answer from one end of this universe to the next. I hope I could kind of stick it in a nutshell. It seems such a simple quote from Tesla, and it kind of is, but explaining it and sticking it in a nutshell in 20 plus minutes is not. But I think I achieved it. You can disagree with me. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. I read every comment. If you ever want to contact me, my information is in the description below. Lux Emeritus.
Yo, I like my man, yo.
Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be huge. We all know this. It's not a question. But there are plenty.
Now let's head down to the lot where Tom Brady is trying to track down.
Soldiers eliminate mosquitoes around them in just 90 seconds or less. This tiny tactical mosquito repeller is...
Okay, here we are again for another video, setting up higher, away from the magnet. I want you to notice the specific angle of precession. It's 42.5 degrees. As I give it a swing here in the direction of the centrifugal flow, or the divergent flow. Actually, I basically just let it fall. You'll notice it's speeding up on its own. I didn't even toss it. All I did was just let it drop in one direction.
Yo, this shit is crazy.
I know this isn't exactly all that exciting, but I wanted to show you the precession angle, both centrifugal and centripetal. There are better ways to show this precession angle, but not necessarily a better physical analog than this. Well, let's try it the other direction. Remember, I'm just dropping it. I'm not actually throwing it or anything. You notice I'm going the direction opposite of the flow. This time I went counterclockwise, and the centrifugal is clockwise, and the centripetal is counterclockwise. You notice the radical angle of precession as I was throwing it in the opposite direction to where it wanted to flow centrifugally, which is in clockwise direction, and I was tossing it counterclockwise. And let's just show that again really quick. Okay, do you see that? It's just being suspended by a tripod hook. There's nobody holding it up there. Once I let go of it, there's no human intervention. Nothing inside this black case either. It's empty. It's what's used to transport the magnet. A case inside of a case. This specific angle of precession is known by magnetic resonance imaging machine manufacturers and doctors. It's referred to in the book Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism. However, they do not understand what it is, but they know the angle and the frequency of magnetic precession as used in MRI imaging. Although they have the angle slightly off, but I mean there could be a variance depending on flux density and about a dozen other variables. So I just wanted to show you that really quickly. I'm sorry I took 2 videos, but I should like to show you once again the radical. See, that was so radical there, it actually wrapped around the tripod leg. You just got to give it a gentle little drop in the wrong direction of where it wants to go centrifugally. And you'll see that. You see that pattern it creates? It does not want to go in that direction centrifugally. Now it's evening itself out centripetally or convergently. All magnetism, like I said in discussing Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism, why any magnet wants to go to the dead center of a magnet, completely opposite to why any iron ball wants to go to the outside edge or the centrifugal divergent edge. It's extremely simplex, and yet you'll find no explanation for it anywhere. The reason is a magnet, like another magnet, is an electrified dielectric object, and the iron ball is not electrified. So what is being impulsed or magnetically induced from an applied field in an iron ball, it does not change its dielectric capacitance or change its magnetism. That is why the applied field of a standard magnetic induction to an iron ball always wants to seek the centrifugal outer perimeter, and why any other magnet will always want to seek the dead center. Dielectricity terminates into gravity in stellar masses and in galactic masses with enormous power. We all know that electricity terminates into magnetism. We all know how to get electricity from magnetism. Now the real question is that I won't answer, and someone might have created a device with a very weak anti-gravitational field. I won't say who that person is, but working retroductively using Platonic methodology, we know that electricity terminates into magnetism, and we know how to get electricity from magnetism. And using my special diagram, as mentioned in the book Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism, we know that dielectricity has a centripetal field, as does gravity. However, gravity accumulates spatially, i.e. due to mass, but its field is always centripetal, same as dielectricity. However, dielectricity does not accumulate spatially as electrical inertia, but it does as its stable form in mass, as it is created in galactic forms and in stellar forms. So working retroductively, working backwards, the same way you understand the creation of electricity through magnetism, you are able with special geometries to be able to understand how to manipulate the dielectric inertial plane to create an anti-gravitational effect. I hate even mentioning that because it is so fringe and unbelievable. I mean, it's the realm of quackery that every pathetic nut job and crystal rubbing, new age, free energy, over unity moron talks about on YouTube. And they're all despicable, and they've all got a screw loose and several ball bearings missing out of their brain casing. But even though their ideas are crazy, the logic behind it is perfectly sound, because Oliver Heaviside talks about it in his book. First volume, Appendix A, electromagnetic theory. Charles Proteus Steinmetz talked about it. Nikola Tesla talked about it. So even though it is the realm of quackery, as it has been invaded by them, the principle itself is sound from the greatest minds who ever lived, and someone might have actually created a device with a very weak anti-gravitational effect. Let's try that again here. I hope this little video didn't bore you to death. I just wanted to talk about the precessional angles of a magnet on another magnet. Why it's 42.5 degrees. That's discussed in with all the angles and uncovering the missing secrets of magnetism, and how any magnet, as it leaves the centrifugal, is always wanting to seek the center, the centripetal. Obviously, the string needs to unwind its tension so it will rewind backwards again. But
yeah, that's the same guy.
Since the outer centrifugal is moving in a clockwise fashion, once it does unwind.
So this motherfucker just said he made an anti-gravity device. A weak one, a very small weak, but it works though. Because it's mostly quackery, but the science is very sound. And once again, some of the greatest minds to ever live have already postulated some of these same theories. Everybody's saying the same thing. Yeah, they did a number on society when they locked away all of Tesla's ideas, all his patents. A great disjustice, man. We could have been 100 years in the future by now. But greed and power is a bitch. And there's always greedy, powerful motherfuckers.
Will move how the centripetal wants to move, which is counterclockwise, as we showed in our TV demonstration. However, the centrifugal is moving. If it's moving clockwise, the centripetal is moving counterclockwise. If the centrifugal is moving counterclockwise, the centripetal convergent is moving clockwise. There is no exception to this. This is an absolute fact. One discovery in messing with this giant $800 beast of a magnet, an unfortunate side effect is too much experimentation with it, as I'm being shot directly in the face by the centrifugal field flow, is that my eyes hurt within about an hour or so afterwards, if not sooner. So when I do experiments with it, I like to do it as little as possible now, because it makes my face hurt and it makes my eyes hurt. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, you never hear about stuff like that from magnets because nobody's messing with a giant beast like this that has enormous volumes of magnetism pouring out of it. Anyway, I hope you watch this slightly boring yet hopefully informative section from Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism. Please email me with any questions or corrections or anything you want to say. Just don't make it pathetic and make it a ranting diatribe. I mean, at least have something intelligent to say. Although, thankfully, many of the comments have been extremely positive to date. There's always someone out there that has something awful to say, but that's the nature of YouTube, isn't it? We have to take the high road and deal with it, and if someone has something logical to say in rebuttal, then say it. Everybody should be a truth seeker. As is the nature of Platonism, to be proven right means you are close to the truth, and to be proven wrong means someone has corrected you, and you are therefore also closer to the truth. So a genuine truth seeker likes to be proven both right, and he equally, actually greater so, likes to be proven wrong, because both resultants brings one closer to the truth. Like I said, email me with any questions. I hope I showed to you, at least I gave you a decent analog at the precession angle of 42.5 degrees, which is half of 85 degrees, which is the remaining of the 137.5077 degree angle of interior precession vertically from the dielectric to the centrifugal. But you can read about that boring stuff if you're interested in Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism. It's a free download. And I hope you enjoy it, and give me recommendations on any future videos if you have any, and I will certainly make them. Thank you.
This is the one right here where he was showing the black holes. This is the shit I remember watching. Is it this one? What's the... So he has a couple of them like this. I'll do this one.
Yankee Trail has the right shoe for any adventure, with the Pegasus 4 for road trail, Zagama for the rugged outdoors, or the Ultrafly for speed and track.
Yeah, Elon Musk said he still was a bigger Edison fan because Edison was more of a businessman. He loves Tesla ideas, but he loved Edison's business savvy. Even though he was a crooked ass businessman, he was a thief and a liar, he was able to make shit happen. I'm gonna take one little smoke break real quick. The timer is so crazy because I've been here for like an hour and a half already. It's already 4:30. No, I've been here about an hour now. We are making some pretty good progress on this painting. But I feel super sleepy too. I don't know, I might cut it off at 5 in about 30 minutes.
Hello, welcome to another video of Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism. This is a ferrocell. It is optical grade glass, in between which is a few microns thin of special ferrofluid and a ring-lit LED on a strip. And here we have one pole of a tiny 1/4-inch cube in 48 neodymium iron boron. Now this is the polarity. Just wanted you to show, I'll give you the fundamentals first. Now here we're going to look at the dielectric inertial plane, or quote-unquote the side of the magnet. And you can see as it forms there slowly, you can see our poles on either side here. And watch as we twist. You'll see the interplay between the centrifugal and the inertial plane. This is field incommensurability. Should be able to see that very easily.
So yeah, just trying to get the first detail layer on the skin. These up close skin paintings are kind of difficult. That's why I'm really trying this thing, because it's not easy to make. Because on your skin up close you can see like individual skin cells, and it's like, what the fuck, bro? But yeah, this first thing on that one looks okay. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna play with the midtones and add the really bright highlights. When you add the bright parts on there, it kind of makes it pop a little more, because you have a greater contrast and the light source in the deep shadows. But yeah, the underpainting, then I'm playing around with like the deep mid tones, and then we'll in the dark tones, then we'll come back with the lighter mid tones and freshen up deeper tones and bright highlights on the last detail layer. This is gonna take a while to paint this shit. Now that I keep looking at it more and more, it's like fuck, what did you get yourself into? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I want to smooth out a lot of portions of it and like dumb it down in some areas, but then really I just want to highlight the more curvature parts of the foot. That's where I want it to stand out the most. And then once like I said, you get them bright highlights on there and make it really pop. So I'm doing a lot, but it feels like I'm doing a lot, but at the same time, I'm also feel like I'm just trying to do just enough. Don't do too much, motherfucker. You can stay on this damn painting for the next 2 years.
So let's look at a side view right on the centrifugal edge. Let me get it positioned properly here so you're not looking at my fingertip. You can see the dielectric inertial plane here, and you can see a funnel of that hypertrochoid pattern. This hypertrochoid pattern is the interlacing, centrifugal, divergent, and the interlacing, centripetal, convergent magnetism, or as Faraday called it, the quote-unquote dielectric field. What is magnetism? Magnetism is definitionally radiation. How is magnetism different than dielectricity? Well, magnetism sits on one fulcrum of the ether, and dielectricity sits on the other. Dielectricity is charging, is counter.
So the glass that he's using and the fluid that's in between the glass is actually showing you what a fucking magnetic field looks like right there. And he explains that dark spot in the center of the magnetic field. Like I say, I watched a few of his videos, bro, a couple years ago, because this shit was interesting as hell. I was like, I ain't never seen nobody use a special glass to show the field itself. I'm like, this guy is on to something.
Is inertial, is centripetal. Magnetism is the discharge of dielectricity as necessitated. There's no such thing as a one-sided seesaw in nature's fulcrum, for lack of a better analogy. All charge necessitates discharge. All divergence necessitates convergence. All spatiality is preceded by counterspace, the charging plane. Centrifugal necessitates centripetal. You see this hypertrochoid pattern? Now the only reason this is not a perfect hypertrochoid is because my LED strip has one missing spot of a missing LED, because the way it's spaced, it would not fit the exact diameter of this optical grade double lens with the ferrofluid. Now the black spot in the center, this is one pole, both poles look the same. That is the void spot of the returning centripetal. The bright ring around this. It doesn't matter if it's a cube magnet or a sphere magnet or a circular magnet. It's all the same pattern. Magnetism is magnetism. The ether is the ether is the ether. It will look the same regardless of whether or not it is a cube or a cylinder or a disk magnet. Magnetism and dielectricity do not care. They work against field pressure gradients. They don't give a damn what size or shape or form they're in. However, of course, as you can see, even on a cube magnet, as is necessitated by the incommensurable nature of magnetodielectricity and the conjugate nature of dielectricity and magnetism in field incommensurability, the centrifugal and centripetal interlacing is circular. So it doesn't matter if it's a cone-shaped magnet or a cube or a cylinder, all the same. So now let's take a look at a N52 1" by 1/4 inch. Give you a better view. This is a really powerful little sucker. There's one pole. You can see the centrifugal line. Like I said, the only reason this is not a perfect hypertrochoid, kind of like as you used to play as a young child, a spirograph set, the only reason there's a missing spot here and over here is that there's a missing LED because of the exact spacing of the lens. Now, let's show you one thing so you understand. You'll get a 3D pattern. Now, if you could actually see over here on the edge, you can actually get a really, really nice 3D pattern of the field. But let me first put it on the edge here. And you can see that there's a bloom. There's a bloom of centrifugal divergent magnetism. See, we're right on the edge of the magnet. We're halfway between the centrifugal. The centripetal is right here, the black void, as the two are interlacing, centrifugal, centripetal. But we're right on the edge between the magnetism and the dielectric inertial plane that will start rolling over to the inertial plane. Now we're on the exact edge of the magnet. Now watch as I slowly spin the magnet. You see either pole here and here, the black void spots. You'll see the blooms on either side, and in the middle of that is the centripetal. Now watch as I turn and you'll see the incommensurability of field dynamics within a conjugate binding system of magnetodielectricity. How a magnet is created and its resultant incommensurable nature is
that shit look crazy.
Really very simplex. Not simple, but definitely simplex. Let's get directly along the inertial plane here. It takes a second for the ferrofilm to develop. You almost have to use it like photographic paper. Yeah, can you see that as I turn? Now as I come more on the edge, I approach the edge of the centrifugal divergence, you will see, although if you were here in person you could really see it in 3D, you can actually see a separate bloom pattern as I sit right on the edge. And let's come back over towards our poles. One of our poles, of course. And there you can see it. Now, maybe we could show you something interesting here. Give me 1 second to set it up for you. It's not so easy to see in the dark, don't you know? I want you to, you may or may not be able to see this depending on how I've got it. Let me actually wipe my lens off first here, just a little bit. Just a little bit. It kind of made it worse. Here we go. Wipe our lens down. Yeah, this is real exciting. Something you've never seen before, ever. You've never seen this before, period. Now, these, let's first put them together so you can see something here. As you know, when you put two magnets together, now this one is a cube magnet and the other one is our cylinder magnet. They will form, you'll see perfect polarity, and their avoidance are what you call attraction. So now they've become one magnet with a single dielectric inertial plane. Even though this is a cube magnet and this is a cylinder magnet, I believe they're both the exact same Gauss reading. You can see the polarity between the two. Now this is voidance. Now we have one single magnet, a cube and a cylinder together. And you'll see the inertial plane as I twist it. Now what's happening here is when I'm twisting, what I'm doing is I'm actually twisting space. And moving a field, we're getting induction. So something that science has never defined and has never explained is what a field is. If you ever want to scare a physicist or someone that's into the cult of quantum or general relativity, just ask them a question like a child. Please, sir, what is a field? It scares them to death. It's their skeleton in the basement. It's their ugly child with 3 eyes and 1 leg that they're afraid of anybody seeing. The reason for this is that they know that fields are not mediated by particles, and nor can instantaneous action at a distance, IAAD. Everything in life works off of fields, so you would think that science would have a really easy time explaining this, but science has never, in any way, shape, or form, ever defined a field because they know that it has nothing to do with particles. When we say force, when we say induction, when we say tension, this all has to do with fields. We're talking about moving a field over time and in space, but fields are not in space. Space is a posterior attribute of any and all fields. I want you to see what's going on here. And you see these field line fluxes? I'm actually moving space here. You think I'm moving a field, but what I'm doing is I'm actually moving the attribute of a field. Where general relativity went wrong and why Einstein is a mental midget is he committed the fallacy of attribute reification. What it is like is blaming flies buzzing around upon horseshit. So, well, you know, the reason we have flies, i.e. force or tension and induction, is because of horseshit. Horseshit being space. This is basically what all quantum physics and relativity has done, is it's reified the principle or the subject, i.e. forces, inductions, actions, acceleration, upon horseshit. They blamed all this upon space itself. They reified the attribute. Space has never done anything. Space does nothing. Space is nothing other than a posterior attribute of any and all fields. So the answer to the flies and the horseshit question is that you cannot reify horseshit, i.e. space, as something that does something or is something. Tesla said this. Steinmetz said this. Oliver Heaviside said this. The mathematical proofs are in Oleg Defimchenko's work. The reason for everything is not the horse shit, but the horse, i.e. fields. Something that science has never defined, never explained, because they never will define a field, because it has nothing to do with particles. And everything in quantum physics and general relativity is nothing more than rehashed modern Greek atomism. It's got little mystical pixie dust discharge particles, nonsense reification. There's no such things as muons, gluons, mesons, virtual photons. This is all BS and nonsense. Now I want to show you something really interesting. I promise to show you something you've never seen before. Now these are the two magnets in avoidance, or what you conventionally and incorrectly call attraction. Now let's put them into counter-avoidance. And I'll tell you what you're looking for ahead of time. It's hard to do it, of course, since magnets don't want to come together in counter-avoidance, but you'll see in the middle this exact same pattern, the same as on a pole. And I'll let you try to figure it out, and I may or may not give you the answer after I show it to you if I'm able to, because it's really hard, obviously, to get magnets together like this, especially when I've only got 2 hands. I'm trying to do 1,000 things at once here, but let's see if we can do it. Trying to juggle the lighting system and everything else at the same time, and trying to get 2 magnets together in counter avoidance up against the lens with my head crooked. Now look for what happens in between these. Can you see that black void? Now look as I get them really close. What you'll see form between these two, this is what you call repulsion, but that's an incorrect definition. But what you will see, and this is the first time you've ever seen it, ever, is it will slowly form. Now if I'm able to get them closer, you'll be able to see it better. I can already see it here, but sometimes it's a little hard to see. It's also very hard to get them together like this. As you will see the exact same formation in the middle here as you will on either pole of any magnet. Let me see if I can get a little bit better image of that by repositioning myself. This isn't the easiest thing to do, obviously. It's actually rather hard to do. And also have to wait for the formation to form because the ferrofluid does not work immediately. The ferro suspension. I almost had it there. Let's get it again. I want to show you this because you've never seen it before. Can you see it there? You'll see the same hypertrochoid pattern forming right in between these two magnets. Although it's a little fuzzy, but you'll see the exact same thing between these two, and counteravoidance, or what you conventionally and correctly call repulsion, forming as I'm actually using all my strength to get them this close. But what you see at 90 degrees to this approach of counteravoidance, 90 degrees, is the exact same hypertrochoid pattern. It's easier to see down here at a steep angle than it is at the 90-degree viewing angle that I have the camera at, but I assure you, I'll be able to photograph it for you here very soon, but it is the exact same pattern you will see on either pole of any magnet. Exactly 100% the same. Now you have to think about this and ask yourself, what are the implications of that, and what does that mean? Well, obviously this is turning Mother Nature upside down on her head and slamming her against her skull on the concrete because nature doesn't want to work this way. But as Stephen Carruthers proved, and as other people are starting to prove, the notion of a black hole is nonsense. An enormous, enormous power generation in galactic formations, what even stellar scientists cannot explain, and they will admit that they are stumped. In their own words, they are stumped. They have no idea why there are trillions and trillions of miles of matter creation and magnetic jets streaming from the center of galaxies. These are called galactic jets. It's in super enormous power formations exactly like this, where the ether has been torn apart, where there's nothing in between here other than, of course, the compression of space and the displacement. Now remember, space is a posterior attribute to any and all fields, but the displacement of space and the ripping asunder of a portal within that space of two counteravoidance fields, or what you would call repulsion. If you could just imagine this on a scale trillions and trillions of times more powerful, this is the generation of matter. They see matter streaming out in trillions and trillions of miles in extremely tight formations as galactic jets. Just Google the term galactic jet and you'll see these patterns. And this is what is happening between these two magnets as actually formed in the center of galaxies that create these galactic jets. And enormous power, this is actually where first matter is generated. It's also generated in stellar formations, but mainly in the galactic formations. But as I said here, this is the first time you've ever seen it. You've seen the exact same hypertrochoid pattern between these two as, it's hard to find stuff in the dark, the same pattern. It's easier to see at an angle, but what you see here is the exact same thing that you see forming between both of those magnets as I was working with all my might to press them together in counteravoidance, or what you refer to as repulsion. This is the exact same thing you see at 90 degrees. As both magnets are coming together this way and this way, here and here, with polarity pointed this direction and this direction, what's forming at 90 degrees up, as you're seeing here, is this exact same polar hypertrochoid centripetal pattern. The implications of this are important. I won't actually get into all the details right now. I'll actually illuminate them in the third edition of Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism. I'm glad to have shown you something about magnetism that you've never seen before, ever. And I just trying to give you an idea of the incommensurability of magnetism. There's the inertial plane. You can see either pole here and here. And as I bring it around to the edge, you can see both the dielectric inertial plane and the hypertrochoid centrifugal bowl vortex at the top. And that black void, the same as this form between the two magnets and counteravoidance, is the point of centripetal reciprocation of convergence. Remember, magnetism and dielectricity. Ether is the ether is the ether. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's gravity mass, electricity, which are two modalities in combination. That's why gravity mass and electricity have attributes of both dielectricity and magnetism. Dielectricity and magnetism are the two co-principles of the universe. Dielectricity is, by its field, counterspatial, and it is accumulative counterspatial. Magnetism, by its nature, is field spatial and accumulative spatial. But all charge necessitates discharge. What happens in the electrification of these magnets by the discharging cap banks and mag coils, what it does is it causes a great disequilibrium within the neodymium-ion boron or ferrous magnet. Magnetodielectricity changes. You can call it magnetodielectric elasticity if you want, for lack of a better term. But what happens resultantly is this macromagnetic effect of perfect field incommensurability. And you can see this hypertrochoid pattern we have here. Remember, this bright rim right here is our centrifugal. Max velocities are on the rim of the magnet. Black spot is centripetal returning, although it's actually tighter than that. It's the only reason that it's black is because it is ferrofilm is being displaced, kind of like using a magnetic stirrer. The actual centripetal is a lot tighter spot than that, but because there's ferrofilm and micron thin layers between these two optical grade pieces of glass, there's a large black spot. It's being displaced, kind of like spinning water out of a jug, where you create a vortex in the center and spin all the quote-unquote water out. But of course the water here is ferrofluid. That's the reason why it's spun out in such a large black spot on this type of viewing lens. But if you could see it at an angle, and I'll try to film it in the future here at an angle, you can actually get a very, very good three-dimensional depth of field. You can kind of see it here as I come along the edge. I roll to the edge, I roll from the pole, and then I roll to the dielectric inertial plane. You can see both poles here. And they roll along the dielectric inertial plane. Any movement of a field is the warpage of space. What we're doing is just warping the attribute of a field. This is the sacred cow. This is the skeleton in the closet. This is the thing that you can't talk about when it comes to physics, because physics has no idea what the F a field is. Pardon my language. But a field has nothing to do with particles. They know this. And it works instantaneously at a distance, which therefore cannot have anything to do with particles. It causes acceleration, force, tension, induction. Everything in nature is the action, reaction of fields. Charge, discharge, centrifugal, centripetal, spatial, counterspatial, convergence, divergence. Nature doesn't do math. It's really simplex. Not simple. Obviously, if it was simple, then I can make the book about 3 pages long instead of 110 and ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. But it is really simplex, even though it's not simple, because human critters, do not think this way. Nature mediates her own pressures at the point of lowest pressure gradient, and you are looking at two opposing pressures in a binding system of magnetodielectricity. Thanks for watching. More videos upcoming. Remember to send me any questions about things you want answered. Alright? Happy to answer them, and I've got amazing new stuff coming up. Some stuff, unfortunately, I have to hold off on telling you because I'm seeking patents on the designs, and That's unfortunate because I love putting stuff out there, but some of the stuff I put a lot of time into, and I'm need to get it patented first before I can tell you about it. But there's tons and tons of stuff that I've already told you about, and I will tell you about that. You know, I've already given you a great insight into how magnetism works. Remember, 3rd edition coming out soon, no later than the end of August. There's just so much stuff to add. And I'm glad you were able to see something first here that no one has ever seen before. And I partially explained it to you, but I'll explain it fully in the 3rd edition. And I appreciate you for watching. Enjoy the mysteries of magnetism.
Teams, did you know you can track, compare, and share your models in one place? That means you can log metadata from anywhere in your pipeline and see the results in the web app. Organize and display it however you want. Search, debug, and compare datasets and models. Save your productionized models to a centralized registry and collaborate on your projects across the org.
Yo, my man is onto something. That's why I keep saying, yo, like, I was really, really interested in what Terrence Howard was saying. Because I already heard somebody say all the same shit already. And said he got patents and his shit so different that I gotta get my shit patent before I tell y'all niggas about this shit. Still my shit. Yep, I'm starting to get hungry now. What's his channel? His channel is... Damn. Why did my YouTube close out? Theoria Apophysis? Why is my shit backwards? Wait a minute. How long has it been like that? Once that stream ended the first time, I never turned the camera back on. Nah, I'm about to get up out of here anyway. Shit. My stomach's starting to growl. Theoria Apophysis. This app is slow as shit all the time. Oh, and that picture right there is background. That's that vortex that he was showing through that special piece of glass. That's the actual magnetic fields. Like he says, I'm not moving I'm moving space. It's the space around the yo, this shit is tough, bro. I like shit like that. I said this was years ago. I was listening to his stuff, man, and it just. He has demonstrations and examples, and it makes sense. And he shows you, like, this is how shit works. And once again, he said the same thing. There is no gravity. It's electricity and magnetism are both extremes of the same thing. He is like, there is no such thing as black holes, and there is a ether. Once again, everything that fucking Terrence Howard said, bro, this dude already said the same thing. And he also said that, I'm figuring this out. He named a couple of people. He's like, there's a few of us who are figuring this shit out, man. Nobody wants to hear us though, and that's why he keeps clowning fucking mainstream science and research. Hard body, yo. He clowns these. That's why I don't think he's like a scientist, just like a layperson, because he clowns the shit out of academia, and always say, yeah, they got it wrong, it was wrong. Motherfuckers been trying to tell y'all wrong forever, but y'all never want to listen. Still using outdated, antiquated theories, and he, once again, he said the same thing. He was like, yo, nature doesn't like numbers. Y'all motherfuckers want to try to put everything in an equation. Most of the time it doesn't work that way. You just have to use your observation, man. Very interesting guy, you know what I'm saying? Very interesting stuff he talks about. And it's just magnets. That's it. It's just magnets. He talks about magnets and magnetic fields. But you can tell the way he presents his information. This motherfucker is well read. He's well versed. He knows his shit. He has magnets, so many different kind of magnets and big ass magnets that you're not gonna have that shit unless you're really, really doing like hardcore experiments with that shit, bro. He said that one magnet is so big that shit hurts his fucking eyes. It's trying to pull the fucking lead out of the metals out of his blood. Fucking Magneto and shit. How you got a magneto magnet? Alright, trying to get to a good stopping point. This might be it right here, honestly. I guess that wasn't a good stopping point. I'm gonna have to At least fade this in. Alright, I think I might be able to pull it right there. We got something done. We got a little bit done. Had to fudge around with the stream more than I would have liked to. It's not uncommon though. It'll cut out. Sometimes, like, the YouTube connection is just wonky, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So we didn't have one continuous stream, but we actually have 3 separate streams from this afternoon. All right. Sushi was good. Zach can draw feet too, nigga. Shit. You ain't the only one who can draw feet. Check me out. Check out Sushi with the hot hands. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Alright, this stream actually says 1 hour and 13 minutes. Alright. So altogether, we were probably in here almost 2 hours this afternoon. Yeah, a little after 5. That's not a bad evening. Alright, let's turn some of this shit off. That light is off, the speaker is off, fan and AC is off, the iPad is turned off. I'm going to use one of those this afternoon. Brushes are cleaned. Laptop, you're going down, baby, you're going down. Now I'm hungry and sleepy. but I'm still gonna play some video games. It's coming together. You know that. You know what I'm saying? Layer 2, working our way through the little second layer. We got that. So the fabric has that first detail layer. So we're already done with the second layer on the fabric. We'll let that stay like that. We'll finish the feet and get a first detail layer on the feet. And then honestly, I think what I'm gonna do is, after I detail the feet the first time, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna finish the fabric. I'm gonna go back and add final details to the fabric so the background is done. Then we'll add the first detailed layer to the bananas and chocolate. We'll go back, do the final detail on the skin, and then detail the bananas last, since the bananas and chocolate are the upper layer. It's on top of everything, so we'll save that for last. Like those final details will be, probably the chocolate syrup will be the last thing that I really add the final details to. So we're gonna do feet, fabric, bananas, feet, bananas. So, but time, patience, and we already have a couple of other pieces lined up after this one is done, and working on some ideas for, another canvas that I can start. So, yeah, man. Another week. Oh man, maybe 2. This week and this weekend, I can. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, I can. Oh, you know what? I have extra time this week to paint because holiday is Monday. I don't have to work on Monday. So I have like more hours on Monday. If I don't sit around and be a lazy fuck and play video games and eat snacks all day, which is, it's a strong chance, a very strong chance that might happen. Or there's a strong chance on Monday I can come up here and instead of going to work for someone else, I can put a full work day in for myself and just be in the studio for 7.5, 8 hours. So we'll see. It might be a week. It might be another 2 weeks. But yeah, damn, June is already around the corner. Shit. I wanted to try to finish it before June. I don't know. I doubt it. But it'll definitely be finished like the first or second week of June, and we'll be moving on to something else. And then, so June is the 6th month, but that would mean 1, 2, 3. When I finish this one, that's 4 paintings that I finished for myself this year, and I've done 1 commission. So in 6 months, I've done five paintings in 6 months. That ain't bad to say I got a full-time job. Always, bro. I can stand here right now if I wanted to. I can go downstairs and get my dinner and come up here and paint, eat, but nah. Nah. Like painting is, gaming is that 2 sides of the coin. I swear, bro. Like, what do? I game and paint, or I paint and game. However you want to say it, that's what I do. And once again, more often than not, I put more times on the video game than I do in the studio some days. I'm so sleepy though. I'm gonna eat. I know I'm gonna get that itis. I might take mine right to fucking bed. I ain't gonna lie. Either way it goes, man. I always appreciate your company. Keep me company here in the studio. Checking out the progress on the paintings. Hope you enjoy your evening too. And I'll get with you next time, bro. Peace.